Hey everyone, my name is Will Knehr. I am the Senior Manager of Cybersecurity at iPro, and I'm here to talk about what we're going to be discussing at ISC East. At ISC East, I'm going to be giving a discussion on securing IIoT using Zero Trust, the future of IIoT security. So I know that's a mouthful, but don't worry, I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to make it a nice, lively discussion, and I'm going to make sure that I break it all down so that by the end of it, you have a solid understanding of what IIoT is and what Zero Trust is. In this video, I'm just going to do a short breakdown of those two concepts and kind of go over what I'll be discussing in the lecture. So what is IIoT? Well, first, let's discuss what IoT is. That is the Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things, you're familiar with it, even if you're not familiar with it. So the Internet of Things are all of these small interconnected devices in our daily lives that hopefully make our lives a little bit easier. So these are things like your smartwatches, your Roombas that go through and vacuum the house. Maybe you have a smart refrigerator at the house that tells you when you need to order more groceries or what you might be low on. Maybe you have a smart dryer on your house that tells you when your clothes are done washing and or drying. So those are examples of smart devices that we've put up in our homes to help make our lives easier. Well, on the industrial side of the house, they use those devices as well. They just use them typically for different purposes. So things like security systems that are interconnected and that will alert people when there is an alarm or an issue. That would be an industrial Internet of Things device. There's also all kinds of like smart cars, smart driving technology that exists out there, and even smart farming. Smart manufacturing has been another big one that has popped up over the last decade or so, where you have robots that are going and picking up items off the shelves and they're packing it, putting it onto the assembly lines, and it's going off into trucks. So we are seeing these Internet of Things devices become more prevalent in our everyday lives and in the industrial side of the house. Now, they're great and they help to reduce cost and they can help to save lives and they can do all of these really great things, but they're also typically very vulnerable and they're prime targets for hackers. So, what can we do in order to help protect these devices? Well, one of those answers is something called zero trust. So, in order to make sense of zero trust, let's kind of discuss it a little bit. So, traditional network security now basically says that once you get past the firewall, you're into the trusted zone of the network. So think about it like this. Imagine a scenario in which you walked into a bank, and as long as you made it through the front doors, you could then walk anywhere in the bank that you wanted to. Now, I would say, and you would probably say, that's not a very secure bank. That's kind of how our networks work now. So what Zero Trust does is Zero Trust puts checks constantly on what a device is trying to do and what a user is trying to do. And it will use those checks to determine if it's going to allow it. So up here beside me, you see the Zero Trust Zone context analysis. So I'll make way more sense of this when we actually get into the discussion and talk about it. But imagine this for a second. You have a camera or another Internet of Thing device on your network. Well, instead of that device kind of having free reign and going wherever it wants to on the internet or on your network, what will happen now is whenever that device tries to do something, it will go through a context analysis. And an engine will basically look at it and it will say, okay, what are the privileges of this IIoT device? What is it allowed to do and where is it allowed to go? Then it will look at it and it will say, okay, is this the actual IoT device? Does it have a matching IP address or MAC address or hardware ID or whatever else it is that we want to use to actually make sure that it's that device and that the device isn't being faked on the network? And then we can look at what that device is trying to do. Is it out of the ordinary? Is it weird? Does it look like maybe it's been taken over by a hacker? Maybe it's being used for nefarious purposes or something like that? Okay, well, if that's the decision that the context analysis engine comes to, then it will stop that communication from happening. So it looks at every single device and what they're trying to do, and it makes a decision based off of that as to whether or not it's going to allow that communication to happen or not. So it is going to be the future. It's where we are going. We've seen executive orders, we have seen laws, we've seen legislation, all this other stuff that's coming out around zero trust. So I want to help you to better understand what zero trust is and how it can be used in our environments to help secure our networks. So join me at ISC East. I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to passing over a little bit of knowledge to you. So I'll see you there.